Yo, and what is going on, YouTube, and welcome back for another Oathbreaker Deck Tech. Now, if you guys are loving the Oathbreaker format, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. If you guys are interested in MagiKids, the official charity of the Oathbreaker team, make sure to check out those links in the details down below. But guys, we have a special new deck tech for you guys today, and that is going to be with the Royal Scions. Now, the Royal Scions is from the new set of Throne of Eldraine. For 1 blue-red, this planeswalker or pair of planeswalkers enters the battlefield with 5 loyalty in the following abilities. Now, the +1 is draw a card and discard a card. The other is target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike and trample until the end of turn. The -8, draw 4 cards, and when you do, the Royal Scions deals damage to any target equal to the number of cards in your hand. Now, we really are going to be focusing on the draw then discard, or the ultimate ability of drawing 4 cards. Now, the signature spell that goes with the Royal Scions is going to be Winds of Change. Now, Winds of Change, a bit of an older card for 1 red, a sorcery. Each player counts the cards in his or her hand, shuffles those cards into their deck, and then draws that many cards. Now, what is this deck? This deck is going to be kind of a group draw mill deck. So we have Jace Vryn's Prodigy. He can come down in those early turns, draw then discard. We want to get him to flip as quickly as possible, just so we can kind of go into a controlled game in the early turns. We have the Izzet Staticaster, so we can flash him in and kind of control someone that's noodling around with token decks. The Ironcrag Pyromancer. Now, we're going to be drawing a lot of cards each turn, and every time we draw that second card each turn, we want to just lightning bolt something, and that's with the Pyromancer here. The Chasm Skulker. Now, we're going to be drawing a ton of cards. In fact, everyone is going to be. So the Chasm Skulker just gets absolutely huge, and when he dies, we just get a ton of little 1/1 squid dudes. And this actually might be a good option if we ever wanted to use like the other +1 ability here. The Laboratory Maniac. Yes. Now, guys, the main plan of this deck is not to draw our own deck. Instead, it's to mill out our opponents. But there are situations where we could just draw our entire deck and slab down a Labman for the win. But again, not the main goal of this deck. Now, Whirlpool Drake, Whirlpool Rider, Whirlpool Warrior. The effects on all of these are all very similar. When they come into the battlefield, we're going to shuffle the cards from our hand into our library and then draw that many cards. Just really good wheel effects. And again, whenever we draw cards, Chasm Skulker gets bigger, or other abilities are going to activate. The Psychosis Crawler. Power toughness equal to the number of cards in hand. We're just going to have a ton of cards. And whenever we draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. So you can see if we have 10 or 15 cards in hand from all of our draws, and then we whirl or Winds of Change, it's going to deal 10-15 damage to each opponent. Keranos, God of Storms. This is another just kind of good creature. It's very uncommon that our devotion to red or blue is ever going to be less than 7. We get to reveal the first card on our turn, the first draw on our turn. A land card, we get to draw a card. If we reveal a non-land this way, we get to lightning bolt something. Locust God, again, very, very good for draw decks. We're just going to get a ton of 1/1 red-blue insect creature tokens. Niv Mizzet, this is just kind of like an absolute finisher for this deck. Whenever we draw a card, we get to deal 1 damage to a target, and whenever we cast an instant or sorcery, we get to draw a card. Winds of Change and Niv Mizzet is an extremely good combo. Now, Kami of the Crescent Moon. Now, we're going to lay this creature, and hopefully nobody interacts with him. At the beginning of each player's at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Yes, I'm going to let you draw all of the good cards in your sweet deck and discard them. Fevered Visions. Now, this kind of section of the deck is how we are going to punish you for having cards in your hand. Fevered Visions deals 2 damage to you if you have 4 or more cards in your hand. Jace's Erasure. Whenever we draw a card, we're going to mill 1 opponent for 1 card. Yes, this is targeted, but we also have Psychic Corrosion. Now, whenever we draw a card, each opponent puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. This is very good. It can get out of control really quickly if we Winds of Change on 10 or 15, kind of mill you for 20 or 30 cards. Iron Maiden, this is a really good card that I'd like to do an alter on, but during each of your opponent's upkeeps, it deals 1 damage to them for each card in their hand over 4, and this is opponents only. Wheel and Deal, again, just another way to force our opponents to discard their hand and draw 7 cards, and we get to draw just 1 card. Pull from Tomorrow, this is kind of just for us to draw. Frantic Search, a free card to draw and discard 2 cards to just kind of find the things that we want to be doing. Standstill, this is my favorite turn 2 card. For 1 and a blue, whenever a player plays a spell, we sacrifice Standstill, and if we do, each of that player's opponents gets to draw 3 cards. Just a very, very good card in the early game to just kind of get additional cards in your hand. Reforge the Soul. Miracling into Reforge the Soul is just absolutely awesome, especially when you're kind of out of gas. Fateful Showdown. This is kind of a targeted damage, wheel your hand kind of spell. Deal 7 to target creature or player, and then discard your hand and draw that many cards. Tolarian Winds, very similar to Fateful Showdown, just without the damage. Temple Bell, just to force each player to draw a card. Jace Bellerin, Party Jace just wants to come down and have each player draw a card. Usually people don't really worry about Party Jace. Again, I'm probably never going to be able to ultimate him. When he does get into that range, someone will probably deal with him. Howling Mine and Dictate of Krufix. Again, we just want to have each player drawing 3 or 4 cards every upkeep and just get all their cards into their hand, force them to discard. Relic of Progenitus. This is in here really as a mean of control. Now, if we're going up against kind of any sort of graveyard strategies. We just want to be able to kind of force them to draw their hand, but once they discard all their good creatures into their graveyard, let's exile their graveyards and make sure to kind of lock them out of the game. Hour of Devastation and Sweltering Suns, this is just a bit of control since we're not running a ton of creatures. We just want to keep that board clear, and we want to make sure everyone is drawing cards and having fun. Now, of course, who would I be if I did not have a bit of control? Counterspell and Mana Drain and Ionize are in here just to kind of control some of those big swingy spells to make sure that people are drawing cards. Improbable Alliance. This is another new card from Throne of Eldraine. Whenever we draw our second card, we get to create a 1/1 fairy creature token with flying. This is good. Turn 2, we can just start drawing more cards. And get kind of some cheap blockers. Venser's Journal, we have no maximum hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 1 life for each card in your hand. This is very similar to Ivory Tower, I believe is the card, which is maybe something I should just add in here. But guys, that's going to be it for this Oathbreaker deck tag. Now, this is a super fun deck for me to play. It's a bit more casual than my others, but it is one of the most fun I have ever built. I just had a heck of a time out in Command Fest Chicago. I just want to give a shout out to anyone there that signed up for the Oathbreaker tournaments over the weekend. We had an absolute blast with you guys. If you guys have any videos you'd like to see in the future, make sure to leave a comment down below, but I will check you guys later.